Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Jenny. I'm here at Snow Isle Libraries, and I am welcoming you today to today's program, How to Build a 5-Minute Drawing Habit with Nishant Jain. Nishant Jain, also known as the Sneaky Artist, is an artist, writer, and former neuroscience student who left his PhD program to pursue art and writing full time. His unique approach to sneaky sketching has resonated with fans around the world, inspiring them to capture their surroundings quietly and authentically. Through his workshops, Substack newsletter, Sneaky Art podcast, and Instagram, Nishant shares his love for observing and documenting life in real time, encouraging artists to embrace simplicity and find joy in small daily sketches. Before we get started, I have a few pieces of housekeeping info to share. Your cameras and microphones are turned off and will remain so throughout the program. Please put your questions and comments into the chat window. Nishant will take a few questions we select during the program, and we will have an opportunity for Q&A at the end of the program as well. Overall, we'll get to as many of your questions as possible. This event is being recorded, and we will send out the link for the video as well as the links shared in a chat to everyone who registered for the event. Welcome, Nishant.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for having me here. It is such a pleasure to be here speaking with everybody. And I want to thank all the participants here because you are giving me your precious time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me on what is, at least in Vancouver, is quite a gray, rainy day. I hope it's a little better where you are, but probably if you're if you're just 2 hours south of me, it's not very much different. I want to tell you to begin a little bit about what sneaky art is. I want to follow that up by telling you a little bit about my book, and which is the reason why we are here, which is the reason why this talk has happened. And then I'd like to draw for you, and I'd like to tell you show you and tell you about what I call the 5 minute sketchbook habit. So, just to begin, is somebody saying the audio is bad? Is the audio not okay? Speakers.
I'm hearing the audio just fine.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure
Okay.
what's happening. Oh yeah, a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
people are saying I hear it fine. So we're good, I
Okay. I'll
think.
just go then. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. So this is how it began. I was a grad student in neuroscience, and I was an exchange student at the Northwestern University in Chicago. I was there to do experiments with stroke patients, and what I really, really wanted to do with my life was actually nothing to do with neuroscience or biomechanics as I had studied in my master's program. I really, really just wanted to be a writer. But growing up where I did, I grew up in India. Um, it wasn't so easy to pursue a creative profession, and it wasn't so easy to justify pursuing something just out of interest. Education and employment had more to do with being reasonable and making the wise decision. And being a writer, being an artist was an unwise decision then. It is also still an unwise decision in any part of the world, even today. Uh, but still think more people should do it. And it took until I was in a PhD program when I realized that this is not where I want to be. I really just want to be a writer. I want to tell stories. I want to find stories, and I want to share them with people. And I need to commit to that life. So I quit my PhD program halfway through it, and I started writing. And then I hit a writer's block. I don't know how many of you have tried writing a novel, but it is very, very hard. And I kept hitting this block again and again and again. And I was so frustrated and so angry at myself. I was angry at myself, and I was angry at the words that weren't working out for me, the words that just seemed to lose meaning. I couldn't say what I wanted to say. And I thought I need a break from writing, I need a break from words. So I grabbed my notebook, I grabbed that fountain pen with which I was writing the fifth draft of my novel, and I went to a cafe and I just started looking at the people around me. Being in the US at this time, this was 2016, it was also an interesting experience because I was an immigrant and I was trying to understand this very new place that was very different from all the places I'd ever lived before. And it's not so easy to make sense of a new place, but it's so important to do that if you're trying to make it your home. So I had a need to understand my physical environment and I didn't know how to do it. And while I was sitting there in that cafe and I didn't want to write anything, I started to draw the people at the counter ordering coffee. And I thought it would be just interesting to try to draw them before they finished ordering and paying. And could I get away with it? And I started doing these drawings. And at the end of an hour, I had a page full of not very good, kind of shitty drawings, but I had a really good time. And I hadn't thought about sentences and words and my novel at all, and that felt great. So I decided I'm going to come back and do this as much as I can. So I would come back to that cafe, and then slowly I started going to other new cafes and just doing this. I'm going to look at the people who come to the counter and I'm going to draw them, and I'm not going to think about words at all. And it's going to feel good. And it felt really nice. And I called it sneaky art because I was so tremendously self conscious about what I was doing. Two reasons I called it sneaky art. One, I didn't want anybody to see this silly thing I was doing, this grown adult who doesn't know how to draw, making drawings in his notebook with a pen, and they're not very good. So I didn't want to show anybody my terrible pages. So I thought I needed to be sneaky so nobody would notice me. And two, I really didn't want to bother anybody. Like, I didn't want to be in their face. I didn't want to invade their personal spaces. I didn't want to touch their life, so to speak. I just wanted to notice and observe and hopefully understand what is this world I'm living in? What is this place that I'm trying to call home? And how does it work? How does a cafe work? How do people order coffee, for example? How does a park work? How do people sit here? How do they live their life in these public spaces? So, sneaky art very quickly from this effort to avoid words became this curiosity for my environment and this curiosity for how public spaces operate, how we live in public spaces, and the idea that we we don't live in isolation. We live in resonance with other people around us. Other people give us clues and ideas for how to live and how to also be, and we are constantly taking permission from strangers about how we can comport ourselves, how we can be, how what we are allowed to do, how we are allowed to be in a space. So I started looking at public spaces wherever I was with a little sketchbook in my pocket, one pen because again I wanted to be sneaky, I didn't want to be conspicuous. And I started drawing people just out of this curiosity. I want to see how people live and I want to figure out how I can live also in this place. But I don't want to bother them and I don't want anybody to see my sketchbook. So let's be really sneaky. Let's draw very quickly. Let's draw with just one pen, not take out a whole thing of colors. And then let's get out of there before anybody sees me because I'll be so embarrassed. So speed and minimalism was at the heart of this practice, not out of any artistic decisions, but simply because of my personality and my temperament and just these unnecessary thoughts inside me of feeling self-conscious. And sneaky art sort of came out of that. And the more I did it, I started to find that the world is so rich. There is so much to see. And the more we get distracted by our phones, the less we notice. The more we spend our time outdoors locked inside our 7-inch digital screen, swiping or listening to music or watching a video or anything, the less immersed we are in the rich, beautiful world around us. And sometimes those rich, beautiful things are amazing things of a great city, like in Chicago, watching the skyline, listening to beautiful live music, or seeing the wonderful summer weather. But also little things like soon after Chicago, we moved to a little town in Wisconsin, and suddenly I'm not surrounded by these fancy buildings. There's no stunning architecture, but these little things of public life, like how people are spending the summer in the park next to a beautiful river, how people are enjoying a picnic or a music festival. These little things of life are also beautiful. and they become more beautiful the more we observe them. So this idea started to creep into my mind that the point of drawing, the point of observing the world and drawing it is not about making pretty drawings. It's not even about observing beautiful things, but it's about finding beauty in ordinary things. It's about finding beauty in our everyday world, in on ordinary days, in ordinary places, featuring ordinary people doing very ordinary things. There is so much beauty if only we pay attention and we look. So a couple of years ago, I was approached by Quarto to write a book. And they reached out to me and they said, "We want you to write a book about how you draw and how your sketchbook habit works." And I was so flattered, but I immediately said, "No, I don't want to do this." Two reasons I said no. One, I don't like how-to books very much. I don't read them. I tell people not to read. I'm just not good at following instructions. So if there's any good book with good instructions for how to do good things, I'm the guy not reading it and just reinventing the wheel unnecessarily, taking the long way around because he didn't listen to good advice. That's just me. So I thought I'm not suited for this. And secondly, I didn't know if I'm the person to do this because I know so many wonderful artists who've written amazing how-to books. And what am I going to add that they haven't already done? And I thought about it for a long time. I said no, and they came back to me and they said, "What would interest you to do it? Like, how would you want to do this book? What is the book that you would want to write?" And that challenge was very interesting to me. And I thought about what I want to say. And this book that I have written now is, I try to say it's not a how to book exactly, it's a why to book, because there are so many ways to learn how to draw. You can now go on YouTube, you can buy a book, or you can go on YouTube, or you can go join classes, you can watch somebody draw in front of you, you can ask for advice. All of us learn in different ways, and we live in this time where it is so easy to find all these different ways to learn. So I'm not sure if I want to be 1 million plus one way to learn. The thing I wanted to do, the thing I realized is interesting for me to do, is to talk about the reasons and the motivations to draw. I honestly don't really care if somebody is a good artist, is good at drawing, so to speak, has the skills, gets perspective right, gets colors exactly right. I don't think that is the most interesting thing about an artist, and that is not the thing that I would like to communicate to people who come to my workshops, who are here right now in this call. The thing I want to share with you is why you should draw. Why you should draw has nothing to do with how good you are at drawing. It's the same thing for why you should sing, even if you're not good at singing. Why you should dance at your wedding, even if you're not a trained dancer. We understand this very natively. Obviously, I should sing, even if I'm not a professional singer. But somehow, a lot of us withdraw ourselves from artistic pursuits with this idea that I am not good at it, or I didn't study it, or I'm not trained to do it, or I'm not a professional. The idea of leaving arts, painting, drawing, sketching, mixed media and collage, leaving it for professionals to do and withdrawing ourselves from it is a very bad idea, but it's very prevalent in society. So I thought, if I want to write a book, the book I want to write is the one that should address this. Why everybody should draw. Because creativity is essentially human business. We've been drawing since we could scratch on walls in caves, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, if not even before that. And it is something very innately human. And we have to express ourselves this way because it makes us more human to do so. Now, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the world of late, but there's a lot of dehumanization going around. The way the world works is the big, powerful forces of our world are trying their best to make you a lesser human. Don't write, don't draw, don't sing, don't look like yourself. Don't even think. Just leave it to us, just pay us for subscriptions and ask us to think and ask us to draw, ask us to write your song, ask us to write the lullaby to your daughter, your child. A lot of the ideas that are going around and making a lot of money now are based on encroaching upon what makes us human, and it's based upon making us less human, turning us into passive machines that simply consume information by scrolling endlessly. And one of the main reasons you should draw is that it allows you to start to become more human. You don't draw because you're good at drawing. You draw because to draw from observation, to look at your world and to put it down on a page is the business of firstly paying attention to your world, which is so rare and so precious and so rich. Paying attention to your world, filtering it through your eyes and your mind, thinking about what is it that catches my eye, what makes me curious, what catches my interest. When I see this busy city street, do I look at the people? Do I look at the cars? Do I look at the fantastic architecture? What is it that's interesting to me? Is it a game of lines and shapes? Is it a game of colors and shadows and light and all of these things? What is it that my mind resonates with? That's your mind filtering what you pay attention to. And then you channel it down your body through your neuromuscular system to your arms and your hands and your fingers, channeled out through the tool you use, whether it's a pen or a brush or a pencil, and you put it down on the page, you translate it on the page. This whole process is mind, body, and soul. It's all of your senses, it's all of your physicality. This is something that you are doing to be more human in the space you occupy. You're paying attention with your eyes, with your senses. You are filtering it and making sense of it with your mind, and then you're expressing it with your hands and the tools of your choice, thinking about colors and lines and shadows. This exercise is a very rich and a very joyful exercise. This exercise has nothing to do with how good you are at it. Doing it is not about doing it well or making it sellable or making it likable, something that gets a million likes on Instagram or goes viral instantly. That is not the reason to do it. The reason to do it is because it is such a beautiful way to spend your time. So, one of the things I started to appreciate as I became an artist also is that the result is so irrelevant. All the joy of this exercise, all the joy of painting, the reason to do it is in the process. For different people, it's different things. Maybe for you, for me, it is often using a fountain pen. I enjoy the friction of the fountain pen nib against the page as I make my lines and shapes. For some people, it's a brush. They love how that brush feels wet with water and color, and then they put it and they make, and that sensation is what feels good. The reason to be creative and to make art and to have a sketchbook habit, another reason to do so is that it binds you into this beautiful process of doing things. I want to draw for you. I don't want to just talk. So before I get into the drawing, I just want to share one observation that I had, which was so important to help me become an artist. I had to unlearn as much as I had to learn. So one of the things I had to unlearn is this thing that happens to us as we become adults. This was true for all of us when we were children, regardless of where we are from, what background we're from, ethnicity, language, culture, blah, blah, blah. All children love to draw and paint. They love to hold that big, thick crayon and make those marks. And when they're done, this is true for you as it was for me, we didn't care what it looked like. We were happy to throw it behind us and start again. Our parents thought it was precious, as I do now for my 2-year-old son, but he doesn't care. He's happy to tear it up and start something new. He doesn't care at all because all the joy for him is in the process of doing it. The result is immaterial. Somehow, as we grow up, at some point this switch flipped in our minds. We became from process oriented to results oriented. I love doing it, but I'm not good at it, so I won't do it. I love doing it, but it doesn't look as good as so and so other person, so I won't do it. Someone said it's not as good as it should be, so I won't do it. This switch to results oriented behavior is a crime. It's so sad, and it makes us lesser people. Becoming an artist needed me to unlearn this habit of adults and become that child again who enjoys process, who enjoys making the mark because it is fun to do so. So I want to talk to you about a sketchbook habit because even if you don't like your drawings, you can still really enjoy the process of making them. This whole business, again, I remind you of looking and filtering and then thinking about what you enjoy and translating it with your hands and your tool of choice onto the page. So with that, I'd like to switch to my camera and so I can show you maybe a few pages from my sketchbook, and then I can show you what I'd like to draw for you. So we can maybe start with my sketchbook. This is my latest sketchbook that I kind of just, I'm almost at the end of now, and I've really enjoyed it. It's got these warm white pages, and I've really enjoyed drawing in it. I can hold it up. Yes. All of my drawings in this are observational. All of them are made from looking at my world, from sitting in public spaces, from thinking not only of what I see and how the colors are going to work out with my limited toolkit, but also thinking about whatever thoughts are in my mind and putting them down in words. Also thinking about the sounds I hear, the people I observe, the various interesting vistas I see and how I feel about them. So drawing is not necessarily just about how quickly you can do it or how professionally you can do it, but also it is about something as simple as what are you thinking about? How can you process what you see and what you think about onto the page? What are different ways of putting that down? A lot of my art nowadays is of my son who turned 2 last month. So I've been drawing him every day since he was born, and I've got about half a dozen more sketchbooks of drawings of just him. And he is now one of the essential ways with which I see the world. When I talk about a 5-minute drawing habit, what I mean is a sketchbook habit that can sit with you wherever you are, even if you're on a boat trying to go somewhere. A 5-minute drawing habit is one that you can fit into your day, that doesn't need you to carve out time. It's something you can implement, something you can practice in these little periods where you're sitting doing nothing. Maybe you're on the boat for a moment and you have a bit of free time. Maybe you are having coffee somewhere and you're waiting for your coffee to arrive or your food to arrive. Maybe you're in a park and you spot a peacock and you have something to observe. So a 5-minute drawing habit is not about making the most beautiful drawing that you could make. A 5-minute drawing habit is about always being attentive to your world, finding something that strikes you as interesting, and putting that down on the page. So this was during a trail walk with my family on Vancouver Island. And because I'm with others who are not drawing, I can't be constantly stopping and taking my time. So these were drawn while walking very quickly. A lot of these are just one single line all the way down, single line for the tree, then around, and very, very quick 4 or 5 lines, not more than that. One yellow highlighter, one green highlighter, and a Browning fountain pen is all I had on me because I didn't have time to use more, to take out more things. I just wanted to get it down. So a lot of these drawings in this page, in this sketchbook, are maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes, usually never more than 30 minutes. And a lot of these little panels themselves are maybe 5-ish minutes or so, because firstly, I'm a little impatient, but also the things I'm trying to capture are often very, very transient. They won't stick around for very long. So watching my son, watching how he's learning to move and stand and play, when I'm drawing him now, he is not sitting still for me, and I don't ask him to sit still for me. I don't want to tell him to pose, not that he would, but I don't want to tell him to do that. I want to capture him in his element. So I have to be as fast or faster than him. So I have to therefore adopt a drawing style that allows me to capture those moments that will go by if I don't leap on them, somebody sleeping in front of me at the airport. I was about to fly out to a book event in San Francisco. So, if waiting for a friend to pick me up at the airport, I snuck in a quick drawing. And a 5 minute drawing habit is about drawing in those little periods where otherwise you might be distracted by your phone, you might be inclined to swipe, to take out your favorite app with your favorite algorithm of addictive content and just swipe, swipe, swipe. Instead, why not look? Instead, why not try to interpret what I see? So here we have the window of my flight, looking out of the window. So this window became literally a frame through which I'm looking at my world. And in the foreground is the wing of my plane. In the middle ground, the other Air Canada flight. And in the background, the hills of San Francisco. So in the time that my plane was getting ready to start taxiing, I thought, what can I draw this very interesting view, my last sketch of San Francisco before I fly out? And then I wrote all around it, I think, over the course of the flight. Jenny, and if there are any questions that you think are relevant, I'm happy to answer them right now before I get into the drawing itself.
Nishant, hi. Yeah, there is somebody who is excited to see the toolkit once you get to
Yeah.
that point. And somebody commented a very nice comment about 15 minutes in, and I so love this presenter and what he has to say, so human and much more than I expected to get. So that was nice. So
Yay. All
carry
right.
on.
Sure. So, when I started drawing, I wanted to just stay very simple to what I wanted to do because drawing in public, drawing from observation is how I've taught myself to draw. I never had the opportunity to take art classes as an adult. So this has been a journey of, well, not self-education because we're always learning from other people. Being around urban sketchers has taught me a lot. But for the longest time, I drew with only a fountain pen. And over time, over the last few years, I've started to expand my toolkit to other things. So, for example, this is made with what's called a Pilot parallel pen. I can show you. This is just FYI, it's 6 mm. It's the biggest parallel nib that you'll see. It's almost like a knife. And it makes these big thick lines as well as these very thin lines. I'm going to demo it today for you so you'll see how it works. Then these are highlighters that I use. So I carry like 2-3 highlighters. My idea is generally that I carry 2 or 3 things and then I try to make them work. And I give them different roles based on what I happen to pick that day. So you can see here brown ink. This is a fountain pen. Green is a highlighter. This brown is a highlighter. I had something that was red as well. I don't know what that was, but I just barely used it. Here I've got black ink from, I think, my parallel pen, and it can get you these thick lines as well as these very thin lines. Then I've got a gray highlighter. And this is just a green, gray, and a red highlighter again. This is with the parallel pen again, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to demo both this parallel pen as well as the pen with which I'm using this brown ink. So you'll see what they are like. When I travel, I love to draw whenever I'm traveling. And again, I don't have a lot of time, but I try to snatch little bits of time. We went to the Netherlands where my brother lives with his family, and my son was getting to know his little cousin who is 3 months younger than him. And one of the reasons for this trip was to get them to know each other and become friends and play with each other. So observing them together, their dynamics, how they would play and how they would suddenly fight was a lot of fun and was the subject of a lot of my art on this trip. And because again, outdoor spaces, not a lot of time, a lot of these are very quick drawings that I'll be demoing for you. On the plane, trying to be quiet, not making too many sharp movements in case he wakes up. I was drawing with a ballpoint pen. This is one of those which has like 6 colors inside it. So black, green, and red is what I used. And then we were in Athens over Christmas, And I used a Posca marker, which is an acrylic marker in gray, and my fountain pen for all of these lines and these observations. Here you can see some stencil and a fountain pen, and just trying to use the different things I have and trying to understand what they can do. How can I show water with a highlighter? So just using the chisel nib of the highlighter and my fountain pen just for these people who are swimming in the water even in the cold weather. I see some very nice questions. I want to get to all of them. Uh, let me actually have a quick read because I'd love to incorporate some of these here. Self-taught, well, yes and no. Self-taught in as much as I can use that word, but I always borrow ideas and learn from whoever I can. Watercolor, Johnny asks, I don't actually use watercolor at all. I do not have the patience to do watercolor. I can't wait around for the color to dry, and so I have to use things that allow me to work within my temperament.
And
More about
Kelly,
how you continued to improve? When do you add the color and the text? So, one of the things I want to say in general, okay, I'll talk about this perspective. There are some things that I'll be able to only show you as I draw, but let me try to see some, okay, mistakes and uh, mistakes is a good thing to think about, and color and text. So let me tell you about how I think about these pages. So I think of my sketchbook as my visual diary. Now, I don't know if you would, but I could not even think about coming back to a diary entry and changing it afterwards, even if it's silly, even if it's a little dumb, even if I'm embarrassed by it. So I never touch these pages after I'm done with them. Everything happens right there, whether it's that same day, maybe later that day is okay if I wanted to write something, but otherwise everything is in the moment, and an incomplete sketch, so to speak, anything that I'm pulled away from just stays that way because that's what happened that day. But over time, I've just gotten better at finishing. I've gotten better at thinking about how to get to the end, which is one of the main topics of my book, as well as what I mean with a 5 minute drawing habit. Not simply to draw for 5 minutes, but how to get to what we might think of as the end of our drawing in 5 minutes. How to start and finish in 5 minutes. Mistakes, somebody asked about how do you think about mistakes? How do you work with mistakes? This is with a brush pen on the train in Vancouver on the TransLink, and I was sitting in the front, the what's called the driver's seat, and I was able to look out the window and draw the beautiful view. So I drew the whole ride. And now I just started doing this fun stuff. Like it's a bit of a pop-up that I put into my page. And I'm trying to do more craft with my page. But the easiest subject that I have to draw, the most frequent subject I draw is always my son, because a lot of hours go away in playing with him and taking care of him. So let's, Jenny, why don't you ask
yeah,
me, pull some of those questions and I'll get ready with what I want to draw for you guys.
sure. So, what is your favorite drawing happy mistake that has become a part of your skill set?
Okay, that's a good one. So I like that question because, mistakes and happy accidents are such a key part of what we do and how we draw. This is one of the fountain pens I like to draw with. It's by the brand Kaweco. So it's called a Kaweco Sport Mini, and I really like it. It's really tiny and it just fits inside my hand. And I like to think about what mistakes are. And I like to use uh, a quote from one of my favorite musicians, Miles Davis, when I talk about mistakes. So I used to draw a lot on the iPad. I noticed there was a question about that, but I stopped doing it because I realized that the iPad undo button is very dangerous and addictive. It doesn't allow for happy accidents because you keep undoing them. So I started drawing with a pen after doing a lot of drawing with the iPad for many years. because I wanted to understand more. And I realized that what I'd been erasing was where all the good stuff was. You need to make mistakes, and we need to live with mistakes, not simply undo them. So the quote from Miles Davis is, once is a mistake. Sometimes you do things and you just don't know how to do better. And if you don't erase them, you just live with them, they give you ideas. Twice is an idea. You make mistakes, or you do things that are simply your predisposition, your idiosyncrasy, your way of doing things, and other people think of it as a mistake. Maybe you also think of it as a mistake and curse yourself. Don't erase it, stay with it. Get ideas. Maybe I can make it work like that. Maybe it can fit in if I do this. Maybe it'll work if I do that. Stay with those mistakes, page after page after page. Once is a mistake, twice is an idea. If you stay with it enough, you come to the magic word. Style, your unique style is something you develop only when you learn to embrace what are your mistakes, your idiosyncrasies, your personality, and you don't get in a rush to erase them from the page and make every drawing look boring and perfect. So one of the first things I had about my drawing, I was getting reasonably good at drawing people. This is from New York at the Grand Central Terminal this summer for a book event this fall. And I don't know if you noticed this, because now it's a part of my style. It takes people a while to notice, but I love to draw people. And I draw what I call tiny people, these little drawings of people with a lot of information taken away. So you see no eyes, no nose, very little details, but a lot of posture, a lot of information about where and how and what they're doing. But one thing that's consistent is, at one point I stopped drawing shoes and I just started ending the feet like this, like this, like this. And I did it out of frustration because I was just getting good at drawing people and I sucked at drawing shoes and heels and sneakers. And I thought, what if I just don't do it? That was the idea I got. And I left in that mistake of not drawing, not finishing, not putting in all the information about who they are, nose, eyebrows, mouth, blah, blah, blah. This person is right in front, but you can see only glasses and hair. Leaving out a lot of details is a mistake, but if you do it enough, you stay with it, you come to what becomes your style. So these are people I drew out of a cafe window as they were crossing the street in New York. And I had to go very fast. These are 15, 20-second drawings sometimes, because people don't even stop at the red light sometimes in New York. So just keep drawing, keep going, keep going. No time to think, no time to second guess, no time to hesitate. What is the information I was able to get down? What is the information I didn't have time for? And the information I decided to leave out. One of the reasons to do speed drawing, one of the reasons to have a 5-minute drawing habit is that it leaves no room for hesitations. There's just no time to have second thoughts about it. All you can do is move by instinct. Do it, do it, do it. And I'm not saying this is how your art practice should always be, but if a 5-minute drawing habit is part of your toolkit, it leads you to trust your instincts and it leads you to unlock certain things and understand certain things. When I'd done dozens of pages of tiny people, I realized that, I don't actually pay attention to a lot of things. Consistently, when I have only a few seconds to draw them, it seems I don't draw shoes. It seems I don't draw facial details. It seems I don't tell you a lot of things about them, but it seems I always pay attention to hair. And it seems like I always pay attention to pose and activity. I want to tell you this person was looking at his phone. I want to tell you this person was looking at their phone. I want to tell you where they're looking. I want to tell you how their head is inclined. I want to tell you things about their mutual dynamics with each other, even if I can't tell you a lot of other things about them in this time. So A speed drawing habit, a 5 minute drawing habit, it reveals a lot of things to you about yourself if you allow it to happen. And that unlocking will teach you so much about how you see the world, how you feel about the world, and how, therefore, you feel in the world, how you feel about being on a train because of what you notice and what you didn't notice. Because of what you used to depict certain things and you didn't have time. So, what is it that you skipped? What is it that you thought you had to do, even if it turned out to be not a very good line? Okay, let me quickly see. I saw some question here which I wanted to get to. So the name of the pen, yes, it's a Kawiko. Thank you for pointing that out. And thoughts on drawing from imagination, not necessarily what is in your reality. Blah, 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 blah. Not much changes. That's a nice question. So, I think there's value to drawing in any way that gives you joy. The point of it is only to do it in a way that brings you a lot of joy and a lot of happiness. There's no really other right or wrong way to do it. So I don't want to say that if you do this, you're wrong, or if you do this, you're right. I want to talk about the importance of drawing from observation because it has to do with so much more than the drawing. Drawing people from observation, drawing your world, your city, your cafes, your streets from observation is a way to be more, observation. Why observation? Since I'm talking and you can see this page. Paying attention. We are starved for attention. Our world is starved for attention. We are not able to pay attention to things because we are constantly distracted. And so, drawing from observation is a way to pay attention to our world. And that's why you should do it. It's also a way to see beauty. There is a lot of stuff in our world which is beautiful, but if we delegate the job of showing us beautiful things only to the apps we use, then we put them in charge of our happiness. Observation will show you beauty, but also it will show you yourself. When you draw from observation, you learn, what do I find beautiful? What do I pay attention to? Who am I? What do I care about? Drawing from observation is also a way to be present in our world. If we want to care about our communities, we want to care about our environment, we want to care about our cities, we want to care about our country, we have to start paying attention to it. And the more we spend time distracted by our little devices, the less time we are physically present in our beautiful world, in our real world, the more disconnected we are, the lonelier we are. Observation is also a way to make connections. Even if you don't reach out and talk to those strangers, if you notice the people at the cafe with you, you understand that we live in a community. We live around other people. That cafe only functions because other people are here with me. It's not open just for me. It wouldn't serve coffee if only I was here. It needed all of these other people to want to do the same thing as me. It shows me that we are all together in a lot of things, even when we don't realize. So I am telling you about drawing from observation, not as a way to draw, not as the only way to draw, not as the only way to draw better, but as an important way to be in our world, as an important way to be less disconnected from one another. Something we need right now, because as I say in the back of my book, so this is a quote I share, it's the blurb at the back of the book. It says, how would your life change if whenever you had a free moment, you reached for a sketchbook instead of your phone? And I ask you to think about what it would do for your creativity, what it would do for your curiosity and your self-expression. So I'm going to draw for you now, and I'm going to draw from using a couple of different pens that I have, which I'd love to talk to you about. But I'd like to draw from reference images because I can't really show you outside my window right now. So there's a reference PDF that you would have received in your mail. And if not, maybe Anne or Jenny, you could share it in the chat again. I'm going to switch to it now, and I would ask you to tell me which image you want me to draw. What here looks interesting but difficult and challenging to you? And based on your responses, I'm going to pick which one to draw, and I'm going to try to draw it in 5 minutes and show you what a 5 minute drawing habit is about, how it manifests, how it expresses. The stairs, I think you mean the stepwell. Yeah. So I was in Jaipur earlier this year, and I saw this incredible stepwell. And thank you for choosing literally the most complicated thing that you could ask me to draw. I love getting into it like this, so this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to draw this stepwell for you, and let's make sure you can see it. Okay, yeah, here we are. So please open to that page. It's on page 5 or 6. I think maybe page 6. I'm going to draw this stepwell for you, and I'm going to show you how it works out in 5 minutes. Something roughly like 5 minutes. So what that means is two things. How do you start quickly and how do you finish quickly? These are two separate chapters in my book, Make Sneaky Art. How do you start quickly? You start quickly by picking an object of curiosity in your scene and then starting there. I don't spend time doing the architecture, plotting my page, composing with pencil, deciding what shapes are important or not. I don't plan anything. I just dive into it. And the only way to dive into a drawing like this is to actually just get into it and see what happens. And when I dive into it like this, I don't know how big it's going to become, how much I'm going to fit in it, but I know that I'm starting from curiosity, and that means it's going to start from fun. It's not going to be accurate, but that is not, again, the job of a drawing. It is going to be a lot of fun to do, and I'm going to learn some things about these shapes. And how big it becomes eventually is a factor of all of these different things. How big did I draw the first thing I drew? How big did I draw the next thing after that? And therefore, what is the result? This whole line was one single line that helped me establish the size of the stepwell already, the perspective already, and a lot of the stairs already. So one line to do as much as I can, and then everything else to balance that. Now we are on top of the stepwell. And long, confident lines. This is also an important part of the book. To build your drawing habit as a 5-minute drawing habit, you need to trust yourself to make the lines. And that means making long, confident lines and trusting yourself to take the line where it needs to go. And if that means you made mistakes, that's okay. That's not a problem. Mistakes are part of style. Mistakes are part of who you are. Mistakes are part of the moment. Long, confident lines will take you to the end of your drawing, and they will mean also that every line, when you make long lines, every line is distinctly your line. Nobody can copy. I want you to think about this. Nobody can exactly copy your long line. When you make a long line, that line carries a lot of information with it. That line carries information like maybe your heartbeat. Does your hand shake a little when you draw? Do you have a little tremor because it is cold where you are? Does your hand go a certain way because you are feeling nervous drawing in front of people on Zoom? What are the different factors that are affecting your drawing right now, this moment here? Your long line carries information about that. It carries information about you, who you are, distinct from anybody else, but also you, who you are in this moment right now, distinct from anybody else you have been before this. Your long line is your signature of this moment in time, and that makes it very, very precious. It makes it inimitable, even to yourself. If I asked you to do this drawing again, maybe that second drawing would be very, very different if you trust yourself to do what I'm doing right now. I don't know if it's a good result, but I know that it is the most fun result. And if I'm at Jaipur and I have only 5 minutes because My family wants to go on sightseeing, as was the case here. I don't have a lot of time to keep doing this and I need to hurry up. So I need to now think, what do I want to capture? Was the architectural accuracy of this stepwell the most important thing to me? Clearly not. What was important, what was catching my eye, is just how these steps look next to each other. And if I can communicate to you just how insane this architecture is, this stepwell is more than 500 years old. How insane is that fact? That something so brilliant and precise was made before computers, before advanced imaging techniques, before advanced manufacturing techniques, built by people who live in desert landscapes because who don't have a reliable access to water all year, has not only a way to access water but a beautiful artistic way to make your well, your step well. People, over the summer, the water level, over the rainy season, the water level rises, so you don't have to go down as many steps. And then over summer, as the step well dries, the water level falls, so you simply go down more steps to draw water up. Of course, it's not functional anymore, but for hundreds of years this was a very important way for people to get water in Jaipur. Dozens and dozens of stepwells can be found in the city, each one as beautiful and unique as this. And the point of this drawing is just to emphasize maybe that uniqueness, and that I'm here and that this is happening right now. And some things are not really making sense, but I'm doing my best to make them fit. Maybe I draw a person quickly just to give you a sense of scale. This guy sitting here over this cupola of a kind. Long lines to allow myself to draw quickly. How do you finish in 5 minutes? How do you know that you're finished? If you have to withdraw, this is when I think, okay, what can I do to put a finishing touch to suggest that this drawing is done? What can I do to give it a sense of finishing? I think about maybe I tell you a little bit about shadows. I in With a fountain pen you can use the reverse side of the nib to get a thinner line. So if you guys do line work, line width using a thinner line is a great idea to show textures, to show shadows, to show details without overwhelming the details on the page,
Nishant,
overwhelming the lines. Yeah.
can you scooch the paper over a little bit to the
Oh,
left so we can see it? It's kind
oh,
of
I'm
going off
sorry.
just a tiny bit
Yeah,
there.
sure. Here we are.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah, thank you for that. So just to finish these shadows very quickly, I'm going to think about telling you maybe about the water. So let's get some more hatching lines in to show you how the shadows are falling. Of course, one of the reasons for this is also under a strong, merciless sun. You want to reduce the number of hours that sun falls directly on the water surface so that the water remains cool. And a stepwell like this increases the possibility of that too. So lots of fascinating reasons for this kind of design, and I use my 5 minutes as their ending to, maybe I went a little over, guys, but for the sake of this demo, I'm going to use it just to show you more, tell you more about these surfaces, where they're facing, how the shadows look because of the, say, the old stone, but also where the shadows are starting to fall as the day climbs. So if I had 5 minutes and I had to be done, I could say, okay, I'm done, I'm ready to leave. It's not a finished drawing, but it communicates something about what was happening. Can I have time for just one more long line just to show you that, hey, there are so many people who come here to see these things, and something to give you a sense of where we are. There's a tree, there's another tree, and another tree, and some houses, and at the end there are hills, and then another tree. So 5 minutes. Did I do more than 5 minutes? How much time did I take? I took almost 10 minutes actually. Sorry. 10-minute sketch. I'm going to try to make the next one strictly 5 minutes. But I hope that demonstrated some of these ideas. The main idea I wanted to tell you about here was how to start quickly. So, picking a point of interest, spiraling out, and letting everything you draw help you to decide what is next, help you to scale what is next. How big is everything compared to the previous thing I drew? How big is the next thing compared to the previous thing I drew? So this is a bottom up way of drawing. You don't spend minutes and minutes laying down a scaffolding, so to speak, your thin pencil lines so that everything is in place. Instead, you start from curiosity and instinct and you just allow yourself to move. You start quickly rather than letting hesitations. If you spent 20 minutes here doing the sketching and then somebody said, hey, it's time to go, and you never got to put down the ink, this might be just an incomplete drawing. Instead, we have a drawing that is imperfect, but you were able to get what you wanted. I wanted to show this crazy steps activity and the people here, and in 5 or 10 minutes, I was able to get that, even if it wasn't a perfect sketch. So, this drawing activity, the choice to draw, has satisfied my urge to draw. This is the most important thing you can do. Your 5 minute drawing habit is not about pretty drawings. Your 5 minute drawing habit is about satisfying that urge to make something. If you always scratch that itch, then that leads you to have more momentum. You're eager to do it again the next time. And all the strategies and ideas and tools to do that, the techniques to help you scratch that itch every time and never wonder, is there enough time to draw? That's what my art and that's what my book is about. Oops, sorry about that. I want to do one more demo for you. We have a little more time. Do we have a little more time? We have a little bit of time.
Yes, we have some time.
Let me do another quick demo for you guys. So, is there a suggestion for a second drawing? What should I draw?
One person suggested something a little easier, maybe. The one with the
Sure.
boat we're getting and Stonehenge. So whatever.
Is there Stonehenge? That's not. Is that? Oh, that's
Oh, that's not one of
Athens.
the.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's
Oh,
maybe not one of your.
oh, sure. Okay.
Maybe,
So
I'm
I'm
not
going.
sure.
Okay. So, I could draw the first page, or I could draw that arch in Athens. Let's see. What are there any suggestions in the chat? The boats and Sunshine Coast. All right. So tiny people. Okay, let's do some people. These people sitting. Could I do them? Yeah, I could do them. So let's do this scene on Granville Island in Vancouver. It's page 6 or 7, just after the drawing in the picture of Athens. All of these people on a sunny day in Vancouver, and I'm going to draw them for you. Let me see, where is that image gone? Yes, there it is. Okay, let's make sure you can see it. Okay, yeah. So 5 minute drawing of people. I love to draw people. And here's my good advice. It's in the book as well, how I draw people. There's a whole chapter to that. I'll tell you very quickly how I draw tiny people from observation, how I go fast and capture details. I start from somewhere. I don't think I know anybody who starts like this. I start from the ears. I make one simple shape for the ears. And the reason I do this is because when you draw the ear as a simple C, by the way, it's just the letter C, you can go up and do scalp, you can go down to do jaw, you can go down to do shoulders. You have 3 directions to go based on the person and what they are like, what interests you. I'm going to go up and do scalp, and then I'm going to come and do jaw. One line. I'm going to stay with my one line because I don't know when they change their posture, and I want to capture very quickly their interesting posture and one line for this whole shape. And then I go in for the exquisite details. The tiny person next to them, again, just using this person as a launch pad, I go up and again stay with my one line for as long as I can, because the longer I stay with this one line, I can do these complex shapes and I can accomplish something before this person changes their posture. The reason I do this, the reason for long lines also, is that they help you capture something that could change at any moment. You are capturing something like pose. that could change at any moment. And once you've captured pose, it doesn't matter if they change their posture. Now, even if these three people on this drawing, they move around and they change their posture, they sit up or they just sit differently, I don't mind. Now I just have to look at them and fill in the details. What is the dress like? What is their hair like? Wavy and more tied back. I can look at now other details. Do I want to have details about their dresses? Maybe I do. Maybe I have time for it now. This is not subject to their pose. So when I do long lines, I try to draw the outside form of the person before I get into the inner details about who they are, what they look like, and any other things that make them more unique. Just the outside form, the thing that will change if I don't grab it right now. And then I think, oh, okay, they've got glasses, so I guess I should pay attention to their glasses. I can think about their hair now. I can think about the folds in their clothing now a little bit. And what else do I want to focus on? So, like I said, with the whole composition, drawing the people at drawing the stepwells, you go inside out. With the large composition, you go inside out. This is how you start quickly. But if you want to finish drawing every person you start drawing, you go outside in. So this is another chapter in the book. Inside out for the blank page, outside in for every single individual element that you draw. Outside in means I capture this outside form before I jump in and spend time on the details. So this person sleeping behind them, maybe he wakes up. I don't want to be drawing him, his paying attention to his hair and all the details, and then suddenly he'll wake up and this whole process will be rendered pointless. So I want to capture this outside form of him. And then, okay, he's still, but maybe he gets up, doesn't matter. I can see how his hair is and I can fill that in. I can see that he's wearing a t-shirt and I can think about whether I want to fill that in into some detail. And if he's still there, I can think about shadows. I can come in for more details. So with every individual element, you go outside in.
Can you scooch the paper over to the right and up a little bit? Yeah. Okay. A little bit more to the right.
Oh, yes, sorry.
There we go.
There we
Perfect.
go. Okay, so, yeah, so, person, shape, and then let's fill in details. And think about clothing. So this manner, one more reason to do this is that it allows me to think about where I want to pay attention. So now that I've drawn these people to some amount of attention, I think about the trees behind. I only have 5 minutes. I don't have a lot of time. So I need to draw the trees, but I don't really want to get into it. So I just do this thing that I love to do for trees. One long shape, and then just this outside part. I don't go into it. How much time you spend going into it is how much detail you want to give to something. So these boats in the back, I need to show you that we are here on Granville Island and there are boats in the back, but I don't really want to draw every boat. So what if I draw every boat, all these boats, with just one line? What happens? What would that look like? How much time would I save? And what would that make? Can I show you that, hey, there are boats, but I don't want to tell you very much about them. And that's the point of those boats. They're in the far background and they're supposed to stay there. By deciding how much detail you give to something, how much detail you give to people, you can decide how important they are and how much attention they command. So I give my foreground people a thicker border because, again, line width makes a difference, what's important and what's not important. I like to give them one common border together. Just feels like a way of making them one element in my foreground, and then my background gets pushed further and further back. Completely forgot I wanted to tell you about my other pens. I'll just quickly tell you about them. So I got this guy from Amazon. It's this Chinese brand called Mahjong, and it is called the Little Fat Man. The Little Fat Man. It's got a bent nib. Don't know if any of you have ever used a bent fountain pen nib, but it is so useful because you can do something like, let's say I wanted to draw another person very quickly. You can do something like a regular line, but you can also use it to do something like this. A thicker line. Just by changing the angle of contact, you get a thicker line from the flat end of that nib, and you can use it to fill in areas, or you can use it to get your fine line. So you can get all kinds of line widths from the same pen, and it just looks super versatile, and it looks super cute. I love using this pen. The Little Fat Man by Mahjong. That is the name of this Chinese brand. Using different nibs has been a lot of fun. Another one I'm using these days is this Pilot Parallel pen, like I told you about. This one is really great because it's, let's try to do the same person with this. So you can get a line like, can you see this line? Yeah, you can get a line like this as well as a line like this, and things in the middle. So you can really play with it. If I had to draw this same person with this, let's get this ink going. And I have to do it very quick because I have to move. There isn't a lot of time. Using different nibs is making contact with the page in different ways, changing the equation of what gets put down when you move your muscles and you move your wrists about. And it's, again, opportunity for more fun, opportunity for more play. So you should really expand and look for different ways to use different things. Let me switch back to my camera to tell you this part of things. I want to tell you that, guys, we live in the golden age of art supplies. It is so easy to buy any number of pens, colors, brushes, inks, pastels, paints that you want, all kinds of sketchbooks. You should not narrow down. Look widely, go to your local art supply store and hold things, see how they feel. That is the most important part of the art making process, how they feel when you hold them. Hold them and see how that sketchbook feels. A lot of the sketchbooks I use, so this one is this size. It's usually the largest sketchbook I would take outside. My smaller ones are more palm sized because I can hold them in one palm and draw with the other hand. And I can stand and draw, and I can fit them in my jacket pocket. So a lot of the sketchbooks I use are like 4 by 6 inches, maybe 5 by 7 postcard size. Very rare, like this is the largest size, 5.5 by 8.5. And find new pens, find new brushes, find different ways of making that mark, and find what feels good. We are all on this journey. Art is a non-stop creative journey, and you get to join it anytime you want, and you get to explore all this time, all the different ways to make marks and have fun doing it, just like when we were children. So in conclusion, I want to just tell you that the point of a 5-minute sketchbook habit, is that we all need to find a way out of our phones. And these algorithms are nefarious and malevolent, and they want to shatter our attention spans, and they want to monetize those pieces by selling it to different corporations and brands. But being human is about being an active free agent in your world. And your active free agency begins with attention. Where do you give your attention? What do you care about? What is making you curious? How do you express that curiosity? These are the fundamental things that make us a human being in our world. And we have to stop relegating and delegating these things to devices and to abstract things like apps and things that will tell us what to like and what to share and what to retweet. We need to be active agents observing our world, paying attention to it and therefore caring about it, paying attention to it and therefore having it matter more in our world, in the things that occupy our mind space, in the things that we pay attention to, in the things that we care about, in the things that we think about. The way you spend your time is the way you spend your life. This is what the famous poet Anne Lamott said. And the idea here is that the things you pay attention to make up your world. By being an active agent, you are choosing how to design your world. And surprisingly, all you need to get started is a cheap sketchbook and just one pen. That's it. It's so easy to get started on this journey. And my book is all about spurring you to take action and get going in being more and more human again. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'd love to hang around and answer more questions.
Great. Thank you, Nishant. We do have a couple more questions. Let me see if I can find my list here. There's lots of questions about the tools, and we said that we will get to and we'll create an email, add those to the email at the end.
Mhm.
Let's see. We had a question about sketchbooks and what parameters are important to you.
Yeah, that's a great question because, like I said, golden age of art supplies, so many sketchbooks to choose from. You need to think about paper to the extent that the tools you're using will work on it. So if you want to use watercolor, you want to use slightly thicker paper, more than say 120 GSM. GSM is usually a good marker, grams per square meter, of how thick the paper is. So you want more than 120 GSM for it to take your color, your water, so it can hold the water without buckling and without misbehaving. But other than that, what I think about is size. I think about what is portable, what lets me work in the way I want. If I'm drawing outdoors and I want to draw 5 minutes, I want to have a page that I can finish. So a little pad is sometimes the best thing. Let me see if I have one of my little pads right here. So I've been carrying this little pad around. It fits in my jacket pocket and it lets me make little 5 minute drawings. I just whip it open and I'm drawing on the train with it. I can start and finish inside 5 minutes. If I know I have more time, then I can have a bigger sketchbook. Another interesting thing about sketchbooks is the way the page is oriented actually determines composition. So if you use your sketchbook like this, you will see your world like this. But if you use your sketchbook horizontally, you will see your world from left to right. So the kind of format you have, this or this, it really affects how you interpret. It's another game to play. I don't say buy this and not that. I'm telling you buy the one that resonates with you. Again, go to an art supply store. Don't just order it online. Hold things, feel things, see how they sit in your pocket, see how they fit in your bag that you might want to carry with you everywhere. And that is the answer for the right sketchbook. Final comment on sketchbooks. The best sketchbook is the one that you are not afraid to use. Don't buy something that intimidates you. The point of it is to use it. The best pen is the one that's always at hand. The best sketchbook is the one you're not afraid of. The best paper is the one that you don't think that you will ruin. If you have a lot of phobias about this, use the cheapest paper in the world. Draw on toilet paper. Who cares? The point is to express yourself and not be afraid of doing so. So whatever gets you going is the right material.
Okay, and then we did have a couple little questions just about if you draw first and then add color, or if you do color first and then draw.
So it's fun to change it up. I know a lot of people have preferences for what their best work would be. So if you have lines first, then your colors will tend to stay within those lines, in my experience. But if you want to have a more chaotic appearance, or if you want the colors and the lines to not adhere to themselves so strictly, then using color as mood, using color as expression, abstract rather than exact depiction, you can put down something with a brush and then work with your lines after that. It depends on how you use lines and colors. My lines tend to be more accurate, so to speak, very definitive shapes, very sharp. You can see very few lines, so the lines really do a very important job. My relationship with color is more abstract, so I am starting to think about color now as something that goes before, and then it's more loosey goosey, and then the lines do the job of being very tight, and I like that contrast between them. But what you do is really about how you think about these ideas.
And finally, too, one more. Are you mostly looking at your drawing or at the subject while you're drawing?
Yeah, so initially when I started doing this, there was a lot of head bobbing, like page and then looking at your subject and then, doing this constantly. But the more you draw, you get better at seeing, you see faster. So you capture more in one glance, so you don't have to constantly look at them. But also, you get better at just drawing the line, so you can trust the line will go the way you want it to without having to look down and confirm. So I can do a fair amount of drawing without looking down at the page, just looking at my subject. I can trust that the line is going kind of sort of where I want it to go. And I can also capture a lot from one glance and put it down on the page and not have to constantly shuffle up and down. So again, this is a sort of, it's a sort of happy fit that you come at. And if you think you're leaning one too much in the other direction, I can assure you that practice is what balances it out. You get to be in control of how you want to do it.
And one kind of fun question, have you ever done a fight scene?
I drew at a hockey game, so yes. I loved these active situations where things are happening. I love to draw people dancing, people playing music. I love to draw at concerts. I love to draw sports. It is hard. It is so difficult. It's really, really difficult. A fight scene is particularly difficult because, like in a sport, the advantage is that they assume the same postures again and again. So if they're leaning a certain way, kicking a certain way, blah blah blah, even getting ready to fight, they do repeat postures again and again. So even if you miss it, 5 minutes later somebody or someone else will come back to it, so you can borrow it from them. But fight scenes are tough. Maybe I would do it watching a video and playing it at 0.5x or something. Maybe that would be a good way to get into it. It's hard. That sounds like a challenge.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Nishant. I think that's about what we have time for today. And just a big thank you to you, and thank you to everyone for being here for this presentation. Be sure to check out the Snow Owl website for more online artist and speaker events, including Make a Friendship Zine with Shay Merck coming up on March 18th at 4 p.m. And we hope you all have a great afternoon and hope to see you again soon. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Nishant.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody, for being here and giving me your time and attention. Such a joy to talk to you.